The desert was wide and endless, with golden sand stretching as far as the eyes could see. The sun shone brightly above and the wind carried fine grains across the ground. 3 travelers walked together, their steps slow but steady. Their names were Mira, Aaron, and Dalen. They had come far, following old stories of hidden ruins beneath the sands. Each step made them wonder if the stories could be true. Mira was the one who looked carefully at every shape in the sand. She was thoughtful and liked to study small details. Aaron was stronger and always carried the heavier things. He had a brave heart and wanted to be the first to see what others had not. Dalen was quiet and careful, always making notes in a small book he carried. Together they made a good team, and though the desert was not kind, they trusted each other. After many days of walking, they reached a place where the dunes rose like waves of the sea. The ground there was harder, and strange black stones were scattered about. Mira bent down and picked one up. The stone was smooth and shining like glass. It did not look like anything the desert should hold. She showed it to the others. Aaron turned it in his hand, and Dalen wrote in his book that the stone looked unnatural. As the sun climbed higher, the heat grew stronger, and the travelers searched for shade. Then Mira stopped suddenly. She pointed to a shape rising from the sand ahead. At first it looked like a small hill, but as they walked closer it became clear that it was not made of sand at all. It was a wall, tall and flat, stretching upward into the sky. The wall was part of a pyramid, but not a normal one. This pyramid was black, darker than night, and its surface shone as if it swallowed the sunlight. The 3 stood at the base of the structure, silent in awe. They had seen pictures of pyramids in old books, but this was nothing like them. Ordinary pyramids had steps or smooth stone sides. This one was made of a single surface that looked like it had been polished for centuries. There were no cracks, no broken pieces, and no marks of time. It stood as if it had just been built. Mira slowly touched the surface. To her surprise, it was cool, even in the heat of the desert. Aaron pressed his hand against it too, and he felt a strange pull, like the wall was alive. Dalen carefully stepped back and began writing fast in his book. He described the pyramid as a black mirror standing in the sand. The longer they looked at it, the more they saw. Faint golden lines appeared across the dark surface. At first they looked like scratches, but soon they began to glow. The lines formed shapes that looked like rivers and stars. Mira gasped softly. The pyramid seemed to be waking up. Aaron felt his heart beat faster, while Dalen could hardly keep up with his writing. The lines grew brighter, spreading upward and across the surface like living streams of light. They joined together to form patterns that none of them understood. Mira thought the shapes looked like maps. Aaron said they looked like doors. Dalen said they might be messages written in a language too old for humans to know. The golden glow shone more strongly as the sun lowered in the sky. The pyramid seemed to reflect the light of the setting sun, but in a way that made it look alive. The travelers felt both wonder and unease. They were the first humans to stand here in countless years, and the pyramid seemed to know it. When the evening breeze began to cool the air, the 3 travelers set up a small camp near the base of the pyramid. They made a fire to keep warm and sat around it, staring at the dark shape against the stars. The pyramid looked even larger at night. It rose into the sky like a shadow, and the golden lines glowed faintly, like stars trapped inside its walls. Mira spoke softly, saying she believed the pyramid was not just a tomb or temple. She thought it was built for a greater reason. Aaron smiled, saying that maybe they had found a treasure hidden inside. Dalen shook his head and said that treasures of this kind were not gold or jewels, but knowledge. They stayed awake for a long time, speaking in quiet voices while the pyramid stood silent. From time to time, they thought they heard a soft sound, like a hum from deep inside its walls. The desert was calm, yet the air around the pyramid felt different, as if the land itself was holding a secret. As the night grew colder, they finally rested. Mira lay awake, still watching the faint glow on the black surface. She felt that the pyramid was waiting, not asleep but watching them in return. She wondered if they had discovered it, or if it had allowed itself to be discovered. The desert was filled with countless mysteries, but this one was unlike any other. The black pyramid stood tall, ancient yet perfect, silent yet alive. For Mira, Aaron, and Dalen, the journey was only beginning, and the sands of the desert had just revealed their greatest secret. The sun rose again over the desert, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. The 3 travelers woke near the base of the black pyramid. Their small fire had turned to ash, and the cool air of dawn was slowly warming. Mira stretched her arms and looked at the towering shape above them. The golden lines on the surface had grown faint during the night, but they still glimmered like sleeping stars. Aaron was eager to explore. He stood with his hands on his hips, staring at the smooth walls. "There has to be a way inside," he said with excitement. Dalen shook his head while holding his book. "If there is a door, it is not like any door we know," he answered. Mira touched the wall again, hoping for a clue. The surface was still cool, and for a moment she felt as if it gently pulsed under her hand. The three walked along the base of the pyramid, searching carefully. They found no openings, no cracks, and no sign of steps leading upward. The surface was seamless, rising higher than they could see clearly. Aaron frowned, feeling impatient. He pressed his palm against the golden lines, hoping they would react. At first nothing happened, but then the glow returned. The lines spread out from his hand, forming circles of light. Mira and Dalen stepped back as the circles grew wider and brighter. A deep silence filled the air, followed by a sound like moving wind, though the desert around them was still. Then a tall shape appeared in the wall. It was not carved, but seemed to melt into existence. A doorway opened slowly, its edges glowing with gold. Beyond it was darkness, deep and endless. Aaron's eyes shone with wonder. "It opened for us," he said softly. Mira placed her hand on his arm. "Or it was waiting," she replied. Together they stepped forward. The doorway was wide enough for all three to walk side by side. As they entered, the desert sounds faded behind them. The air inside was cool and carried a faint hum, like the echo of distant music. They lit small lamps they carried, but soon they realized they did not need them. Golden marks floated in the air, tiny symbols glowing softly like fireflies. The marks moved slowly, as if drifting in an unseen current. Mira reached out her hand. A few marks gathered near her fingers but did not touch. Dalen observed closely, writing down every detail. "These are not dust or sparks," he whispered. "They are alive in some way, or perhaps they are messages." Aaron laughed lightly. "Messages that fly around us? That is a strange kind of letter." Yet even he felt a quiet respect as the marks formed gentle patterns. The hall they entered was wider than they expected. Its walls stretched far, disappearing into the shadows above. The floor was smooth and shone faintly, as though it held light deep within. They walked slowly, careful with each step. The glowing marks drifted around them, sometimes forming shapes that looked like stars, sometimes like flowing rivers. Mira felt as if the pyramid was speaking, though she could not yet understand its words. After walking for a long time, they reached the end of the hall. There stood a vast wall covered with brighter golden lines. The lines glowed in waves, moving as if alive. At the center of the wall was a tall shape like a gate. Aaron approached it and pressed his hand against the glow. For a moment the wall grew brighter, but nothing opened. Mira joined him, placing her hand beside his. The glow spread wider, forming a pattern of circles and stars. Dalen quickly noted it down, whispering that the design looked like a map of the sky. Suddenly, the golden marks from the air began to gather. They moved toward Mira, surrounding her in a gentle swirl. She stood still, not afraid but filled with wonder. The marks joined together, forming shapes above her head. The shapes looked like constellations, patterns of stars connected by lines. Aaron and Dalen watched with wide eyes. Mira whispered, "It is showing us a path." The marks floated slowly toward the wall and touched the glowing gate. The patterns shifted and the gate began to change. Lines of gold spread outward, shaping a doorway taller than any human. A soft sound filled the air, like the hum of distant voices singing. The travelers felt their hearts race. The pyramid was opening its secrets step by step. They entered the new chamber beyond the gate. This room was unlike the first. The walls curved upward like a dome, and the ceiling was filled with golden points of light. It looked like a night sky frozen in stone. In the center of the chamber stood a tall golden pillar. It shone with a steady light and hummed softly as if alive. The travelers approached it slowly. Aaron placed his hand near the pillar but did not touch. "It feels like it is listening," he said. Mira nodded. "Perhaps it is waiting for us to understand." Dalen wrote in his book with a trembling hand. "This is no tomb," he whispered. "This is a place of knowledge." They stood together in silence, staring at the pillar that glowed like a piece of the sun. The Black Pyramid had opened its doors not to treasure of stone or metal, but to mysteries greater than they had imagined. And though none of them could yet explain it, They felt the journey had only just begun. The golden pillar stood tall in the center of the chamber, shining with a steady light. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen gazed at it in silence, each of them filled with wonder. The air around the pillar felt alive as if it carried hidden meaning. The hum that came from it was gentle but constant, and it seemed to echo inside their minds. Mira stepped closer, her eyes fixed on the golden surface. She reached out her hand but stopped just before touching it. "It feels like it is waiting," she whispered. Aaron folded his arms and tilted his head. "Waiting for what?" "For us to speak. For us to prove something?" Dalen opened his book again and wrote quickly. His voice was calm but full of curiosity. "Perhaps it waits for the right moment. Or perhaps it is already speaking, and we must learn how to listen." As they stood before the pillar, the golden marks that floated in the air began to move again. At first they drifted slowly, but then they gathered around Mira. She did not move, though she felt her heart beat faster. The marks swirled gently, glowing brighter, and then joined together into shapes. Above her head, the shapes formed what looked like a river of stars flowing across the chamber. Aaron and Dalen watched with wide eyes. "It is choosing her," Aaron said softly. Mira shook her head. "Not me. It is showing us something." The marks shifted again, stretching into long lines that curved and bent. They looked like maps, but not of any land the travelers knew. Dalen stepped forward, his eyes shining. "These are not simple maps. They are guides. Look, here is a cluster of stars, and here is a path leading through them." The marks moved slowly across the chamber, guiding the travelers toward a passage at the far end. The doorway glowed faintly, though it had not been there before. Mira felt a pull in her heart, as if the pyramid wanted them to follow. Aaron grinned, ready to step forward at once, but Mira held out her hand to stop him. "We must be careful," she said. "This place is not like the ruins we know. It responds to how we act." Together they followed the glowing marks through the doorway. The new passage was narrower than the first hall, with walls that curved gently inward. The golden glow lit the way, so they needed no lamps. As they walked, the marks continued to form shapes. At times they became flowing rivers. At other times they became stars or trees with long, shining branches. Mira whispered that the shapes felt like stories told without words. The passage led them to another chamber, smaller than the first. In the middle of the floor was a round platform made of the same black stone as the pyramid walls. Golden lines circled the platform and symbols floated above it like a crown. The travelers stepped carefully around the edge. Aaron looked at Mira. "Do you think we should stand on it?" Mira frowned. "Perhaps it is a place for testing." Dalen bent down to study the golden lines. "Or perhaps it is a place for learning." Without waiting, Aaron stepped onto the platform. The golden marks rose quickly around him, spinning like a storm of light. For a moment his eyes widened, but then he smiled. "I see images," he said in amazement. Mira and Dalen watched closely. The marks showed pictures that only Aaron could see. He described them as cities made of crystal towers, forests glowing under twin suns, and rivers that shone like silver. When Aaron stepped down, the marks grew quiet again. Dalen, filled with curiosity, stepped onto the platform next. This time the marks formed pictures of wide oceans filled with floating islands, mountains that touched the sky, and skies filled with countless moons. Dalen's voice shook with wonder as he described the visions. "These are not dreams," he said. "They are memories of worlds beyond ours." Finally, Mira stepped onto the platform. The golden marks gathered around her and formed a different vision. She saw a world covered in endless night. There were no suns, only a sky filled with stars. In the center of that dark world was a lake of glowing gold. The gold was not hard metal, but a living light, shining against the darkness. Mira whispered what she saw, and her voice was filled with both awe and mystery. "It is the world of eternal night, and there lies a treasure of gold." When she stepped down, the marks faded, leaving the chamber quiet. The travelers stood together, their thoughts heavy with meaning. Aaron spoke first. "If these are memories, then the builders of this pyramid saw many worlds, and they want us to see them too." Dalen nodded. "Perhaps they are telling us where to go, showing us the path toward that golden light." Mira held her arms close to her chest. "But why us? Why now?" The golden pillar in the first chamber hummed louder, as if answering their questions from afar. The travelers felt that the pyramid was guiding them, testing them, and teaching them. They no longer believed they had simply discovered a ruin. Instead, they felt chosen, as though the pyramid itself had decided to reveal its secrets to humans at this time. As they left the chamber, following the faint glow of the marks once more, Mira looked back. The golden shapes had vanished, but the memory of the visions remained strong. The world of eternal night had called to her, and she felt certain that their journey was far from over. The Black Pyramid had only begun to share its secrets, and the greatest mystery was still waiting to be revealed. The narrow passage opened into another wide chamber, larger than any they had entered before. Its ceiling was so high that the golden light of their path barely reached it. The walls were curved and smooth, and they seemed to breathe softly as if the stone itself was alive. The travelers stepped inside carefully, their footsteps echoing in the still air. At the center of the chamber stood another pillar, taller than the first. This one glowed with a deeper light, almost like the glow of the moon rather than the sun. The air felt different here, cool and quiet as if time had slowed down. Mira placed her hand on her chest. "Do you feel it?" she asked softly. Aaron nodded, his face serious for once. "It is heavier here, like the air carries a secret." Dalen adjusted his book under his arm and whispered, "Perhaps this is the heart of the pyramid." As they stood before the pillar, the golden marks appeared again. This time they did not float gently as before. They rushed like streams of water, filling the air around the travelers. Mira raised her hand and the marks gathered quickly, forming shapes in the air. First they became stars, bright and countless. Then they joined together into wide images that filled the entire chamber. The walls turned dark and the light of their lamps faded away. It was as if the chamber itself had become a window to the sky. The travelers gasped. All around them shone images of distant worlds. They saw oceans that glimmered like glass, mountains shaped like crowns, and cities hanging in the sky like lanterns. Each image was clear, alive, and beautiful, as though the pyramid carried memories of faraway lands. Then the light changed. The golden marks twisted and spread, painting a new picture. The chamber grew darker until it looked like night had fallen inside. Stars appeared above them, glowing against a black sky. In the center of that sky was a world wrapped in eternal shadow. The travelers felt the air grow colder as they looked at it. The dark world was strange yet beautiful. Rivers of silver light ran across its surface, shining like threads of glass. In the center of those rivers lay a wide lake. From the lake rose a glow of pure gold, soft yet powerful. It shone like a beacon in the endless night. Mira's breath caught in her throat. "That is the same vision I saw before," she whispered. Aaron stared at the golden lake with wide eyes. "It is treasure," he said with excitement. Dalen shook his head slowly. "No, it is more than treasure. It is meaning. The pyramid is showing us something we must learn." The images shifted again. Around the golden lake, figures of light appeared. They were not clear shapes, but shadows that moved with purpose. The travelers could not tell if they were people or something else, but their presence was strong. They seemed to guard the golden light, as if protecting it through the eternal night. The vision faded, leaving the chamber dark once more. Only the soft glow of the pillar remained. The travelers stood in silence, each lost in thought. Mira spoke first, her voice calm but filled with wonder. "Why would the pyramid show us this world? What does it mean for us?" Dalen wrote quickly in his book. "Perhaps it is a place that exists, waiting to be found. Or perhaps it is a lesson, a symbol of light hidden in darkness." Aaron frowned. "If it exists, then we should find it. We should go there." Mira looked at him. "Do you believe it is calling us?" Aaron nodded. "Yes, why else would it show us such a place? It wants us to go." Dalen hesitated, tapping his pen against the page. "But how? We are only travelers in the desert. To reach another world, we would need more than hope. We would need knowledge, and perhaps that is the true gift of the pyramid." The pillar glowed brighter as if answering their thoughts. A soft hum filled the chamber, steady and strong. The golden marks returned and gathered above the pillar, shaping into a map. Lines spread outward, forming stars and paths between them. At the edge of the map glowed a bright point. It was the same golden lake they had seen in the vision. Mira touched the map with her finger. The golden marks rippled, and for a moment she felt warmth in her heart, as if the pyramid had shared a piece of its strength with her. They stood together, staring at the glowing map. For the first time they believed the world of eternal night was real, not only a vision. The map was proof that the pyramid carried knowledge beyond their world. After some time, the light of the map slowly faded, and the chamber returned to its calm silence. The travelers stepped back, feeling both small and important at the same time. They were humans standing in a place not made by human hands, seeing visions meant for those who dared to enter. As they left the chamber, Mira looked once more at the tall pillar. Its steady glow seemed to follow her, as if reminding her of what she had seen. She whispered to herself, "The gold of eternal night is waiting. It is not only treasure, it is a message." The desert outside was far away, yet the travelers no longer felt part of only their world. The Black Pyramid had opened their eyes to the sky, and now they carried the weight of its mystery. Whatever the golden light was, they knew it had chosen them to see it. The travelers walked back through the glowing passage, their minds still filled with the vision of the golden lake under eternal night. None of them spoke for a while. The silence of the pyramid seemed too deep for careless words. Only the soft hum of the walls and the quiet glow of the golden marks guided their steps. When they reached the first chamber, the tall golden pillar pulsed with brighter light. It was almost as if the pyramid was aware of their thoughts. Mira stood before it and whispered, "You showed us something that feels like both a dream and a promise. But what do you want from us?" The pillar gave no answer in words, but its light spread gently, filling the chamber with warmth. Dalen opened his book and began writing quickly. His hand moved across the page as if he feared the memory would fade. "We must remember everything," he said. "Every mark, every glow, every vision. If we return with this knowledge, others will see that the world of eternal night is not a story, but a truth waiting to be reached." Aaron crossed his arms and looked at the glowing pillar. "But if there is gold in that world, why show it to us if we cannot go there? What good is a treasure locked away beyond our reach?" Mira shook her head gently. "Maybe the gold is not treasure in the way you think. Maybe it is something greater. A light, a gift, or even wisdom. We cannot measure it with weight or shine. We must measure it with meaning." The pillar's glow grew stronger, as if agreeing with her words. The golden marks in the air began to move again, forming new shapes. This time they became a map more detailed than before. Stars, rivers of light, and paths stretched across the chamber. At the far edge glowed the golden lake, the same point of light they had seen earlier. The map slowly circled, and then a line of light connected the golden lake to the place where the travelers stood. "It is showing us a way," Dalen whispered. His voice trembled with both awe and hope. "It wants humanity to follow this path. It wants us to reach that place." Aaron's eyes brightened. "So it is a challenge. It is calling us to go beyond our world, to prove that we can reach the gold of eternal night." Mira looked at the map with calm eyes. "Or it is guiding us to something it believes we must one day find." The travelers stood in silence, letting the meaning of the map sink into their hearts. For the first time, they felt that the Black Pyramid was not only a monument of the past, but also a bridge to the future. It was as if the builders had left a message hidden in stone, waiting for the right moment when humans would be ready to hear it. The golden marks slowly faded, but the memory of the map stayed bright in their minds. The pillar dimmed until only a faint glow remained, as though it had given all it could for now. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen looked at one another. Without speaking, they all knew the same truth. The journey had changed them. They had come seeking old ruins, but they had found something greater than history. They had found a call to the stars. That night they set their camp once more near the base of the pyramid. The desert sky above them was filled with endless stars, the same stars that had been drawn in golden light within the chamber. Mira lay awake, her eyes fixed on the sky. She whispered to herself, "The lake of gold waits in the eternal night. It may not be treasure of the earth, but it is treasure of the spirit, and it is meant for us." Aaron rested with his hands behind his head, still dreaming of treasure, but even he began to wonder if the gold was more than shining metal. The vision of the golden light had touched him deeply, though he would not admit it aloud. Dalen wrote in his book by the dim light of the stars, his hand steady and sure. He filled page after page with the story of what they had seen, determined that no part of it would be lost. As the night grew colder, the wind moved softly across the dunes. The pyramid stood silent, its black surface glowing faintly with hidden lines. It no longer felt only like a structure of stone. It felt like a companion, a keeper of secrets, and a teacher waiting for its students to learn. Before they fell asleep, Mira spoke to the others. "When we return, we must tell this story to our people, not as a tale of treasure, but as a tale of hope. The pyramid did not choose us because of strength or riches. It chose us because we are human, and humanity must carry this light forward. Her words stayed with them through the night. They knew their journey inside the pyramid was not yet finished, but already the meaning of the lost gold had begun to grow within them. It was not simply a prize hidden in eternal night. It was a gift of knowledge and a promise that humans were meant to reach beyond the desert, beyond the earth, and into the wide sky. The Black Pyramid remained still, but its silent presence seemed to agree. It had shared its secret, and now it waited to see if humanity would rise to follow the path it had revealed. The travelers entered a new part of the pyramid, one they had not seen before. The passage was narrower and the walls curved gently around them. The golden marks appeared immediately, floating in the air and forming delicate shapes. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen watched carefully. The marks were different now, sharper and faster, moving as if they had a purpose beyond showing beauty. Mira stepped forward, reaching toward the marks. The moment her fingers touched the glow, the passage changed. The walls shifted slightly, opening a narrow path. Aaron moved quickly, but the moment he rushed forward, the path closed again. He frowned, surprised. Mira held his arm gently. "Patience," she said softly. "This place is testing us. It is not about speed or strength. It is about understanding." Dalen studied the marks closely. He noticed how they formed patterns that repeated only when the travelers acted together. "Look," he whispered. "They respond to our cooperation. If we work together, the path opens. If we act alone, it closes." Aaron looked thoughtful. He had always believed that courage and force were the keys to discovery, but now he began to see another way. The travelers decided to move slowly, listening to each other and following the golden marks. Mira held the front, pointing where the marks gathered. Dalen watched the patterns and whispered directions. Aaron carried supplies and offered his hand when the floor was uneven. Together they moved as a team. Each step was careful and full of attention. The path opened fully when they reached a chamber filled with floating golden symbols. The symbols hovered in the air, forming shapes that looked like stars, rivers, and doors. Mira stepped onto a glowing platform in the center. The symbols gathered around her, spinning gently. Aaron and Dalen stepped forward together, standing on smaller platforms nearby. The moment they were all positioned together, the symbols rose higher, forming a circle above them. A soft hum filled the chamber. The golden light flowed downward, wrapping around the travelers. It was warm, gentle, and alive. Mira felt as if the pyramid was speaking directly to their minds. Words were not needed. She understood that the pyramid was teaching them. The human key was not strength or cleverness. It was trust, patience, and cooperation. Aaron's eyes widened. "It is showing us that humans can rise higher when we act together," he said. Dalen nodded. "It measures our unity. This is why the pyramid chose us. It is preparing us for something greater than ourselves." Mira smiled. "It is not just treasure we are meant to find. It is the meaning of the treasure. The light in eternal night is for those who can carry it with wisdom." The golden symbols then moved to form a map in the air. This map was different from the previous ones. It showed paths not only through the stars but also through the pyramid itself. Lines connected one chamber to another, guiding the travelers forward. At the end of the map was the glowing golden lake in eternal night. It was clear now that the pyramid was leading them step by step, testing their ability to work together before revealing the final secret. They followed the map carefully. Every chamber they entered was a test of cooperation. In one room, the floor moved if only one person stepped forward. In another, the symbols required synchronized actions to form a path. Aaron had to learn patience. Mira had to trust others and not lead alone. Dalen had to act without fear. Slowly they mastered the rhythm of the pyramid, understanding that the human key was their unity. Finally, they reached a chamber where the golden pillar stood taller than ever. The symbols floated above it in a crown of light. Mira placed her hand gently on the pillar, while Aaron and Dalen mirrored her actions. The hum of the pyramid grew louder and the golden light spread across the chamber. For the first time, the travelers felt a deep connection to the pyramid. It was no longer just a structure of stone and gold. It was alive in a way they could feel, guiding them, teaching them, and trusting them. Mira whispered, "We are ready." Aaron nodded, his usual eagerness tempered by understanding. Dalen wrote quickly, his heart full of wonder. The pyramid had given them the lesson of the human key. It was not power or skill that mattered. It was their ability to trust, to act together, and to carry light into darkness. The chamber filled with a bright golden glow. and the symbols lifted higher, forming the shape of a path toward the world of eternal night. The travelers looked at one another. They had passed the pyramid's test. They were no longer ordinary humans walking in the desert. They were chosen to carry its secret, to reach the goal of eternal night and to bring back the meaning of its light. The pyramid hummed softly, almost like a voice of approval. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen stepped forward together, ready to follow the golden path wherever it led. The journey was far from over, but now they understood the first and most important truth. The light of the pyramid would guide those who walked as one. The travelers stepped into the last chamber of the pyramid. It was the largest they had entered so far, with walls that curved high into the shadows above. The golden marks floated in the air, spinning slowly and shining brighter than ever. The pillar in the center glowed with a light that filled the chamber and warmed their hearts. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen knew that they had reached the final test. Mira placed her hand on the pillar gently, and the golden light spread across her body. Aaron and Dalen mirrored her action, and the chamber filled with a hum that seemed like music. The golden marks above them began to form shapes. Stars, rivers, and doors appeared, spinning and connecting to one another. Then at the center of the spinning shapes, a golden lake appeared, glowing in a world of eternal night. The travelers felt the air shift. They were no longer in the chamber alone. They were part of the vision. The golden lake shimmered and a soft voice spoke inside their minds. It was not words as humans usually spoke, but they understood perfectly. The gold of eternal night is not treasure to take. It is light to carry. It is the courage, hope, and unity that humans can bring into the darkness of the universe. Aaron looked at Mira and Dalen, his eyes wide with awe. "It is not metal or coins," he whispered. "It is something we can share." Mira nodded. "It is the gift of light we carry inside ourselves. The pyramid shows that humans can bring hope to even the darkest places." Dalen wrote quickly in his book, trying to capture every detail. "We must remember this," he said softly. "This is the message we are meant to share." The golden marks began to swirl around them, forming shapes that resembled humans reaching toward the stars. Each figure glowed with a soft light. Mira understood the meaning. The pyramid is teaching us that we rise by helping others. The light is shared, not kept. That is the true gold. Aaron smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. Dalen closed his book for a moment and looked at the pillar. "It is showing us the way to become better humans. We do not need to search far for treasure. The treasure is the courage, kindness, and unity we carry." The pillar's glow grew stronger, filling the entire chamber. The walls reflected the golden light, and the black stone of the pyramid shone like it had been polished by the sun itself. The travelers felt the hum of the pyramid in their hearts. They understood that the pyramid had not been built for any one human or time. It had been built for all humanity. Its gift was waiting for those ready to rise together. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen stepped back from the pillar. The golden marks slowly drifted to the walls, leaving the chamber glowing softly. The vision of the golden lake and eternal night remained in their minds. They understood that they had been chosen to see the truth, to carry the message, and to return to share it. "Humans are not alone," Mira said quietly. "We are meant to bring our own light into the darkness. That is the pyramid's gift," Aaron nodded. "The light is not only in the stars but also in us. We must take it forward." Dalen added, "And we must teach others. That is how the gold of eternal night will shine everywhere." The pyramid seemed to hum one last time, a soft, approving sound. The golden pillar dimmed slightly, leaving a gentle glow that showed the way back to the entrance. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen turned and walked together. Their steps were slow but full of purpose. They had learned the most important lesson. The treasure of the pyramid was not something to take. It was something to become. When they emerged from the black pyramid into the desert, the sun had begun to rise. The golden lines on the pyramid's surface were faint but still visible. Mira looked back at the great structure and smiled. "It will wait for others," she said, "but it has chosen us to carry the first light." Aaron glanced at the horizon. "We have a story to tell," he said. Dalen nodded, holding his book tightly. "A story of courage, hope, and unity. That is the gold the pyramid gives." The three travelers began their walk back across the desert. Each step felt lighter than before, as if the pyramid's gift was in their hearts. The wind carried the golden sunlight across the dunes, and the horizon seemed wider, filled with endless possibility. They knew the world of eternal night was real, But they also understood that the true journey was not only to reach it, it was to carry the light of humanity wherever they went. The Black Pyramid stood behind them, silent, strong, and patient. It had shared its greatest secret and reminded them that humans were meant to rise, to explore, and to bring hope into the universe. Mira, Aaron, and Dalen walked on together, carrying the light of the pyramid in their hearts. They were no longer ordinary travelers. They were bearers of a message that could guide humanity for generations. The desert stretched endlessly before them, the sky full of stars, and the golden light of the pyramid fading softly in the distance. But inside the travelers, the gold of eternal night shone brightly. It was a light of courage, hope, and unity. It was the treasure that humans could take into every corner of the universe, a gift from the Black Pyramid to all who were ready to rise.